Well, well, I felt everything that I needed to feel to get a grip on this book so that way I can take into account every single potential situation you will encounter in this environment. And that includes the weather, the wars, all the drama that's in politics, religion, and science, and even understand all the different new remedial offerings that are going to be offered out there in the public when it comes to all the just the medicines and stuff. And so I have to be like, I had to know how I was going to deal with everything in this situation that we're in, and then figure out how I'm going to give people an opportunity to survive it. And so I feel much better. And the wind is an evil wind. Yes, it's an evil wind. It is a highly ionizing wind. And, yesterday I was a little frustrated because I know that most people out there have heart issues. Most people have weak vital organs. And I'm thinking like, okay, so we understand the BCL2 and the cancer and all that, and that, yeah, J juice can induce autophagy, which is the programmed cell death of the T cell antigen that gives us these B cell immature cells memories, and those are what causes the tumor genesis, oncogenesis, whatever. But then you have to think about all the fucking heart issues that people have. And it's not like you couldn't survive dealing with heart attacks and strokes. And if you feed your body, and of course, a very extremely skinny person is going to have to salt in slowly, like seriously slowly, to build up the fat and build up the muscles around their vital organs. So that way, when they need to build up pressure and they have to deal with heart energy, they are feeling somewhat like they could survive it. And that's the thing. And so I'm just like, fuck, humans have really messed themselves up, like seriously messed themselves up to such a level. And like I said, if it's not one thing, it's another. And that's one of the things, is that you have to trust food. You have to trust feeling all the different symptoms. You can't get away with living indefinitely or trying to navigate this crazy world pain-free. There's no fucking way. There's just no way. You're going to have to feel something. And since that's the number one thing that kills people is heart attacks and strokes, especially in women, and we have women who are fucking emaciated, or they're so obese that they're going to have trouble getting through all the hormones that have to be in defense of the positive and negative stuff. I'm telling you, this is like, I don't know, man. But I'm gonna find every way possible to just say, okay, these are the pitfalls. Not saying that you couldn't survive any of these type of symptoms, but this is all physics. Okay? For every action, there's an equal opposite reaction. And so you let yourself get down so fucking skinny that now you have to build up pressure, and it's scary. Well, you screwed up for being that skinny. And you gained so much weight because of hormonal imbalances and all that stuff. And I know it's not your fault and whatever, that's fine. But now you have to figure out how to slowly melt that fat off your body. And if it means you have to go get operations, fine, go get operations, and then find a way to figure out how you're going to build up pressure again without going to that extreme and without getting down to such an emaciated level. And that's what's going to be the biggest challenge, is because we have most people who are way on either end of the spectrum. And that's what I'm saying. When there's so much negative, you're fucking skinny. When there's so much positive, you're completely obese. When you're totally negative, you can't handle salt water because that's a positive and it's going to bring on a lot of energy, such as symptoms. Okay? It's not enough just to be at equilibrium. You can't be at equilibrium all the time. And that's a lot of people in the holistic world is they are doing so much of salt water, the soul, whatever you want to call it, the soul water, that they put themselves at equilibrium. Even my JJ crowd, some people, not everybody, but some people have put themselves at equilibrium. So they think everything is great. They think jelly juice is the next best thing to sliced bread because they don't feel shit. Well, that's not the point. I'm telling you, these ionizing winds out here are insane. I thought that I was going crazy every single time the fucking wind blew. I'm like, what is going on here? There can't be that many freaking allergies out there. And I'm just like, okay, I get it now. Because I felt completely sick after that storm came through. Now, I mean, yes, it could be all the different viruses from different parts of the country, but it's also the evil wind. It's also the winds like the Santa Ana winds, the different winds in different places where people get a little cuckoo. Well, I felt it. My dog feels it. She peed in the bed at least 3 times this week. She did it this morning. I saw her. She didn't have a seizure, but she acted like when she was moving around because she was feeling uncomfortable. She moves around and changes position. She acted like she was drunk. I'm serious. In the middle of the night. And I'm just like, sugar. And she just kind of, she was right next to me. And then this morning I wake up and shit, there's some pee in the bed. I'm like, okay, I get it. And so even her body goes through an equilibrium shift. And so you're going to see this weather is going to mess with people. Not only the fires, the storms, the heat and the cold, I'm telling you, but this windy weather. And then who knows what else is going on as far as the grid, okay? And so we're in for some shit, and you can't get away with not feeling anything. You can't get away with that. You can't get away with trying to run away from feeling pain. And I'm telling you, some people are at deficits right now. I mean, even though you might be relatively balanced, when you think is relatively balanced because you found a remedy or a protocol or a who knows what to just kind of keep things in status quo. But remember, if you're feeling at equilibrium all the time, that's called being cured. And then that's the law of thermodynamics. Entropy is going to start taking away. Start taking away from your bank account because you're not generating, you're not lengthening your telomeres, you're not releasing, you're not inducing autophagy, you're keeping those little immature B cells inside eating you out from the inside. And so then I realized that now with writing this book, I have to come from because I'm telling you, trying to figure out how to write this book and how I'm going to position it and attack it has been what I've been struggling with for the last couple months, because I'm like, there's just so much. Where the fuck do you start? And then where do you end? And it's just like, there's no beginning, there's no ending. Remember, it's non-linear, but books have to be written in a linear freaking form. But this is where you can come from. Everything has been reduced down to quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and quantum theory. And then the laws of motion, dynamic, and the laws of biology. And then, of course, all the words is what separates everything. So then you don't make the connection that the Bible is explaining quantum theory. You don't make the connection that politics is as a result of all the quantum physics and mechanics and all the hormone manipulation and all the programming and people who get all fucking triggered over stupid shit. And so that's where I have to come from. And so then it'll make it easier to explain why people behave the way they do when their cells are acting in the same manner as their families. Family of viruses like COVID, BA1, or COVID, Omicron, Delta, BA1, BA2 is no different than a large family that has several kids and aunts and uncles and cousins and grandmas and grandpas and whatever. Okay? And so, and then with all the, the agglutination and all the positive and negative forces and the balancing forces and bringing in an intermediary like the therapies, it's like CPS, you bring in someone from the outside to be a consultant in your family. That's no different than bringing in therapy as being a consultant. You can't do it on your own for whatever reason, so you're bringing a consultant. But then you bring in so many consultants all the time, you're pretty much dependent on the outside world. You can't figure it out. You're not hiring enough, or you haven't hired enough in-house, and no one is evolving in-house. You're always bringing the outside, always bringing in mercenaries, always bringing in somebody else. Eventually, the company is just going to be one big mercenary, and then even the mercenaries find a way to take over, and then who knows if that's even a good thing or not. And so relating everything at the microbial level to what goes on macro levelly is what the connections I was looking for, because that's how people are going to understand who are in the English and the allegory and in all the poetry and all the library science. This is how they're going to understand physics and chemistry and biology. And then they will see that there is a connection between physics and biology. It's not just biology and physics has nothing to do with it, which I have seen people say that, oh, I didn't know that physics had anything to do with biology. Well, hell yeah, that's the law of biology, is that all organisms are under the laws of thermodynamics, entropy. They're always either going to kick out a new cell, well, regenerate, or not regenerate, generate cells, prolong telomeres if they're around a new viral variant, and grow and evolve, or they're going to kick out a baby, or they're going to kick out fucking cancer. That's thermodynamics. That's every biological organism is practicing the law of thermodynamics. And that's and the law of thermodynamics are like the three laws, energy can't be created or restored, only converted, and then every single time you convert energy, you lose it, and that's the whole fertility. And then in a dynamic environment, a closed system cannot survive. An organism within a closed system cannot survive. And so then we realize that our system, even though it seems like it's open and we're all free in America, they have been practicing closed systems. And so then you have to realize that you have to start opening your system up. And when you open your system up, it's fucking painful. That is the issue. And that will always be the issue with people, is that they want to have an amazing life where they feel no pain in a very populated world. And they want to live in a closed system, but in a populated world such as this, with aggressive viruses, you will not have a very long, enriching life in a dynamic environment in a closed system, because the system, the energy is going to cannibalize you faster. And that, how I'm going to explain that, and that's what I'm saying is that, so what you're seeing right now basically is like a sort of like an outline, sort of. But this is all of what I'm going to cover. And then plus more. But that's exactly how I'm going to attack this. And then I will explain the Freemasons and the Catholic Church, which is all basically the Rosicrucians. And so that will allay any kind of mystery around the conspiracy world and the Illuminati, okay? And then I'm going to explain, obviously, about the JJ, and then the salt as the equalizing force, but don't abuse the salt in the water. Just don't abuse it. And so there you go. And so this is, we're at 6/1/2022, June 16th, and I'm right on schedule, because I told my publisher, they called me the other day trying to sell me another, upgrade my package, and I'm fine with the package that I have. I don't need my own website and all that stuff. And I'm editing my own stuff. So, but I told them that I would have some kind of manuscripts given to them by the end of the summer. I would say by September 1st. So I'm going to have this whole summer to write this book, and with the illustrations. And so, I had to make sure that I understood what I had to deal with as far as all the viruses, the ionizing wind, the crazy storms, all the stuff that is going on in politics, in religion, in the science, but also in the news. How does a bunch of kids in Alaska get fed floor sealant mistaken for milk? How the fuck does that happen? When has that happened? Ever? And why today? See, that's the thing you're going to be seeing, so much human sacrifice dressed up as accidents, mistakes, and we're in for a lot of stuff. You have to prepare yourself for this. Oh, but don't watch the news. Well, you got to watch the news on a lot of levels, and the reason being is so you can prepare yourself for some shit coming down the line, so you can then make sure you get out of harm's way, and then you stay with the reality, even though the reality sucks. The reality is in your face. The reality is like, holy shit. But it won't make you complacent. It won't make you think that you live in fucking unicorns and rainbows. No, this is not unicorns and rainbow land, everybody. You got to really be married to the reality, because that's how you're going to keep yourself protected. Because when you're complacent, then you're going to think that it's okay to go out there all the time, not realizing that people are at the surface. People are fucking unhinged. And so if you read a news article that says some guy chopped up some other dude with a machete, living together, you read about some daycare in freaking Alaska, these kids are getting floor sealant that looks like milk. When there's shootings over here and there's issues over here, then you're going to be very wary before you go to that party, that public gathering. Parties, okay, I understand somebody's, once in a while you go to a friend's party that isn't bringing everyone and their mother under the sun under the same roof. But you will think twice before you do shit. You will think twice before you go to a movie theater. You will think twice. Then you're like, oh God, I don't want to live in fear. It's not living in fear. It's self-preservation in this freaking environment. It is about self-preservation. Not being blinded to the reality of what's going on, that we're in climate change. It's going to be, it's already, things are happening so fucking quickly. I'm thinking that, yeah, they're probably going to realize the Georgia Guidestone's probably in 10, 15 years. Because how things are ramping up so quickly and so aggressively. Just imagine what's going to happen tomorrow and the next day. Next year. How many more storms are like these derechos that are so catastrophic? 80-mile-an-hour winds. That's the thing, is that things are ramped. So you got to be married to the reality. And so I had to experience all of the reality, whether it was dealing with that potential, what would have been a tornado over here, or that those straight line winds. I can't even pronounce the freaking name. I don't want to murder the name anymore. But I was really thinking I was going to have my house leveled, because I know what those straight line winds did. When my husband and I were when we were in Morris, Illinois, on that 80 back in 2012, when there were back-to-back tornadoes back and forth, and there were straight line winds that were going on. That was insane. Okay? And so I was prepared to deal with something like that. And that really put things in perspective. That made me not want to have all the shit that I have, because the more you have, the more suffering you have to protect it. That's why I don't get attached to material things. I don't want half the shit I have. I don't need it. My husband, it's all of his crap when you think about it. No offense to him, but he's the one that likes the shit. I'm just like, I'll wear his clothes. I don't really need all my clothes. I don't want all my clothes. That's the thing, is you realize that this is survival mode. And I've always kind of been this way, because even when I moved around from place to place, I had my microwave, I had my TV. Did I have a TV? Yeah. Microwave, my TV, and my sleeping bag. And that was enough for me. Eventually I did accumulate some stuff, but really what I could live on is like my phone, my computer, my TV, my TV and some food and a sleeping bag with a pillow. When you think that that's all you really actually need, and obviously, climate control, because you live in aggressive climates. But when you realize that's all you really need, then it makes life easier, especially in dynamic environments like this, where weather is crazy, where you have to be weather aware, people aware, microbial aware. And so And so that's, that's just kind of the reality that we live in. That is the crazy reality we live in. And I want to live in that reality because I want to remember every single day how fucking lucky I am that I have my health. How lucky I am to have my husband. How lucky I am to have my house. My small little house in a very conservative community that I'm very humble. I want to remember how lucky I am that I live in America, even though America's going through some shit right now. We are going through some shit right now compared to some other first world countries. I mean, I look at, I took on a friend, or I followed somebody that's out of the World Economic Forum. She's out of, she was saved from Ukraine, and she was brought into Switzerland. And, she lives in a beautiful area. And there is nothing going on over there in Switzerland except for people doing whatever they're doing. It's beautiful over there. No war, no crazy weather, I'm sure everyone's all beat and everything else. And it's like, although the perfect people are in Switzerland right now. And here in America, I'm fighting the microbial battles. I'm weather aware, people aware, microbial aware. It's the Hunger Games. And over there in Switzerland, it's like they're like the elite. And here I am. I'm not saying I'm struggling, but we are in some shit here in America. And you could be living in Silicon Valley or living down, in some, really low, impoverished level in America, and we're still fighting the Hunger Games. We're still fighting the weather games. We're still fighting all these crazy games. While people over there in Switzerland and other European countries are watching us go through this fucking battle. And so carve out some peace in your world. Carve out something. And find a way to hold up and heal and get through your predisposition so you can survive all this. Because the storms that happened the other day, we're having some more today, tonight, this afternoon, and there's going to be more in the future. And if it's not a storm, then you're dealing with major arid heat and water conservation. And if not that, then there's going to be crazy snow and bitter cold. And if it's not that, there's going to be floods. And there's going to be I sound like a doomsdayer, but that's the reality that we're living in. And you have to know the area that you live in. You have to know that the coasts are going to be moving inland. People from the south are going to be migrating. People from freaking South America are migrating up into California at the borders because they're all being pushed from all the climate stuff. Okay? And so be very aware of where you live and what the issues are where you live. And if where you live is probably not going to sustain this climate change, then find a way to leave. But don't assume because that your house was knocked over, that building, again, is going to be prudent. I'm telling you, I would not live down there in the Gulf Coast. I would not. I'm glad I left Mississippi when I did, and way before Katrina. Because Katrina was like 2005 or 2006 or something like that. Yeah, 2005. I was in Hawaii when that happened. And I was in Mississippi in like 2001. But I would never buy any property in Miami. I wouldn't even live anywhere in the south part of Florida. I know even people don't want to believe, oh no, climate change doesn't exist. That's just a bunch of left wing blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, honey. Do you realize there's so much weather warfare going on? There's so much weather control. We didn't have these derechos, but you could say that the climate change caused all the crazy weather. There's so much. Well, yeah, there's. See, we don't know how Earth started, really, when you think about it. We don't know who started what, when, where, why, and how. We don't know. So then you have to assume not everything is organic. Nothing is organic. Everything's genetically modified. Everything right now can be controlled. Because controlling electricity and controlling the positive, negative, and photons and protons and neutrons and all that stuff, when you can control everything at the atomic level, then anything's possible. And so when when you have something like the Bible that was written 6,000 years ago, maybe even less or more, by people who knew shit, People knew shit way back 6,000 years ago what they know today. They knew it way back when because they were to write it out and understand everything comes from quantum theory, quantum mechanics, quantum physics. That's what everything is based on. Which means now we're in a new terraforming situation, which means weather's going to be crazy. You can call it revelations, but that's no different than saying, okay, we now have a new simulation going on. So from Revelations to Genesis, that's when you have dying and reproducing happen simultaneously. And so the Bible is just basically explaining a life cycle of a cell that doesn't have the intelligence to live indefinitely. But also the Bible can explain when new viruses come in, it causes then the ending of one simulation and beginning of another one. And so then where did this world come from? You will never fucking know, but you'll know that we have so many people who don't get it. So many people who are struggling to survive. So many people living in squalor. So many people are dying to find a way to bring food to their family, to have some kind of life. And they're over there south of the border in America. And they're dying to come into America. And that's the reality, and that's the craziness. There's people in the Middle East or different places are going through some shit. Okay? I am not closing my eyes to the reality of what's going on in different places. And I am for goddamn sure thankful. And so that's what I'm saying. You have to know that we are in some crazy reset. You're going to see a lot of things that are going to be going on. And you can't stick your head in the sand. And then you have to then face your own demons. And if you're in the West, you have access to resources. You face your demons. You set your life up so you can deal with these demons and survive them. Because there's going to be a lot going on. It already is happening. And so now I get where this position where I'm coming from in this. Because it's coming from the micro. Everything must come from the micro to explain the macro. And so it is prudent for me to come from the quantum physics world all the way to then the front of the house. Because quantum physics is the back of the house. Quantum mechanics is the back of the house. That is the inner workings of how the front of the house projects the image. So when you see a storefront, you see all the beautiful cakes, but you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears those cakes had to go through when the owner had to go and figure out how to even build that whole situation so you can have those pretty cakes. And that's exactly what goes on. People don't understand everything at the microbial level. All they hear is the stupid taglines and the marketing and all the freaking money that they could potentially make from all these remedies and whatever. And they don't understand the back of the house workings. And so that's why they're all rainbows and fucking butterflies and muscles and image and pretty shit and all that stuff. And I'm sorry, I mean a little bit, but I'm kind of like annoyed at how screwed up humanity is because they bought into all the marketing taglines and all the pretty shit and all that stuff, and they don't even care to know about what goes on back of the house. Even some of my Julie Juice crowd, not all, but some of my Julie Juice crowd that were next to me did not really care what goes on in the back of the house. All they cared was the front of the house. And that's what pissed me off, is that they were all about all the money and the accolades and all the fame and the fortune and whatever the hell else that, and they did not really care to bring the back of the house to the people in their world. The nitty-gritty shit that it's not pretty. And if you want to have the world, if you want to have the people in your world, you got to bring them the nitty-gritty shit, even if it's not pretty. But if that's not your purview and it's all about the front of the house and putting out an image, the fake, the superficial bullshit, fine. Then you won't last long, and neither will your fucking circle of people. Because I'm telling you, they'll do so much J juice, they'll be cured and then they'll die anyways. Because they're not going to want to feel the pain or pull out the shit in their body. All right, that's all I'm going to say at this point, because, the world is kind of a crazy place, and I have to figure out a way to say it. And now you know why I am the way I am. Now you know why my relationships have gone the way they've gone, because I want you guys to know what goes on in the back of the house. I don't want you to buy into the marketing that's out there by the clever professionals who are siphoning energy any way they can. It's perfect because my dog's up. Bye.